Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Fernando. If you're new here, this is a channel dedicated to the young professionals or current college students pursuing a degree in STEM. Today's video is focused on how to ask your manager for assistance, how to ask them for feedback, and how to make sure that you're doing a really good job at your job. And so the things that I wanted to bring to you in this video is kind of some high-level categories that I want you to think about when you're asking and engaging with your manager. I think sometimes you just do your job and you don't get in trouble and you think you're doing a great job, and for the most part that is a good indicator. However, how do you know how are you going to get better? How do you know there's something left for you to give if you're not asking for feedback? Feedback is very, very important. Typically companies have an annual basis review, and they'll do like this big review on an annual basis. However, I highly recommend that if you're starting your career, you do your best to check in with your manager at least quarterly. It's really important for you to check in with them and making sure that they're taking a look at the things that you've accomplished on a quarterly basis, because what you'll find is when you do your review on an annual basis, what they're going to remember is the last couple of weeks, right? Maybe the last 2 months. And so say you do it in October, they're only going to remember in their mind August to October. Granted, you may have done a great job doing your job in February. Granted, you could have done a lot of progress in your job and grown a lot as an individual from February to August. However, it's really tough sometimes for managers to be able to remember all of that information. And so being able to check in with them on a quarterly basis is going to help you make sure you're writing down your wins and making sure that the people are acknowledging the work that you're doing and the growth that you've had on a yearly basis, right? And so I kind of wrote down some of the things that I want you guys to think about, right? What are those areas? Communication style is really important. I think it's very important for you to understand how you communicate and how they communicate back to you. When you're having conversations with your manager, you want to ask them, hey, so-and-so, am I being a good employee when I communicate with you? Can my emails be better? Can the way I write my letters, the way I write my memos, the way I communicate on the phone? You've seen my interactions with the rest of the team. Do you think there's a better way for me to communicate internally with my team? Having these discussions with your manager is going to give them an opportunity to step in and say, hey Fernando, I've noticed that you're being very direct with some of the people that you work with, and I think it's important for you to maybe tone it back a little bit on an accountability standpoint and let them make some mistakes, right? I know you want to step in and be able to fix things for everybody, but at the end of the day, I think it's important for you to kind of just take a step back and just see how things interact, right? That is good feedback from the manager. Early on in my career, I didn't write the best emails, and so when people gave me some feedback, I started BCCing them, and they started seeing some of the emails that I had correspondence with other people. They got a better chance to kind of read the way I was asking questions, and they gave me some pointers on maybe you should ask questions this other way. Maybe you should be a little less pleasantry, like the whole how you're doing, how's it going. And so again, sometimes it goes into personality, but I think it's important to ask for feedback because you'll get a better understanding of where you're coming from and how people are perceiving you. Technical development. You want to make sure that you are you're growing on a yearly basis, and maybe you don't have a checklist of the things that you're supposed to know by 4 years from now, 5 years from now, but maybe you do. And so asking your manager and asking them, hey, typically someone who's a year in, 2 years, where should they be? How is my growth from a technical perspective? Am I falling behind? Am I moving too slow? Am I moving too fast? Give me some feedback. Again, technical development is very important for you to ask them on what you're growing on and what maybe you should be working on, because again, maybe you're falling behind. Task ownership. Asking them, hey, do you think I'm doing a good job of taking ownership of certain tasks? Should I ask for more opportunities? Should I, leave some other things for other people? Asking them that question is going to give them a better understanding of what you're trying to achieve with your career, what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy, but also let them tell you whether or not you're asking for too much or you're just not putting in enough work, right? So that's also important, because doing your job is great, but doing your job and a little bit extra is what you should be seeking, especially if you want to be a high performer in the company you work for. Going along the same lines, work ethic. Are you putting in enough hours? Should you be working more? Should you be working less? Asking them for that some of that feedback is going to give you a better perspective on whether or not you have a good handle on your lifestyle. Again, I wouldn't say you're going to allow your manager to dictate how you work and how many hours you work, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to be able to tell you, hey, I've noticed that you're only putting in 40-hour work weeks the last couple of months, is something going on? Do you not want to work here anymore? Do you think you need more overtime? Whatever the case is, asking them those questions is going to give you more perspective on whether or not you're putting in enough work. And so the other thing here that I've written down is the perception versus reality. I think a lot of times, we think we're doing an awesome job, and again, you're asking the managers for their feedback, but I think it's important for you to even ask them, what are other people saying about me? I think it's one thing to know, from the bottom of your heart and your mind that, it doesn't matter what other people think, but at the same time, in your employer with your company that you work for, it's important for you to know how people perceive you. Do you have a strong work ethic? Are you a person of a strong integrity and character, right? And so asking those questions from people is very important, but it's also going to give you a better idea of whether or not, who you think you are and who you think you're putting out to the world, if people are really seeing that, right? Because if you think you're bringing something to the table, but other people having a different perception of you, that's not going to really help you be able to move along in your career. And so again, asking all these different categories that I shared with you all is very important. I highly recommend you all to talk to your managers, ask them for some help. I'm going to be sharing a description in the bottom of this YouTube video on how to ask an email if you're shy or don't know how to ask this question. I'm going to give you a sample template email that you can send to your manager, and that'll kind of give you some pointers on what you can do to ask these questions. If you guys are enjoying these videos, make sure you drop a like, make sure you drop a comment. I'm really excited to be able to be engaging with you all on some of these videos, and I'm just again looking forward to engaging with you all and connecting with you all. If you guys want to send me an email, or if you guys want to send me a DM on Instagram, feel free to engage with me there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace.